What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Files Podcast, the podcast that wastes hours of your life that you're never getting back. We are your co-hosts, Spencer and Gabe, and we are back. We are here today to tell you the good news about the Sorrow Stones, a new-ish book by horror author Felix Blackwell, who wrote Stolen Tongues, a very successful and legitimately scary horror novel. If you haven't read it, please go check it out. We have a review on our channel. I think we have a spoiler-free review. We have a spoiler discussion, and then we also have an interview with Felix Blackwell himself if you want to know more about the book. But definitely check that out. And I'll just get ahead of it right now. I'm going to recommend Sorrow Stones as well. Yeah, in this episode, we will do a spoiler-free section just to tell you about the book and why you may like it. And then we'll get into a spoiler-filled discussion for you to come back to after you've read it. As always, links are in the description. We got Twitter, Discord, Patreon, where you can watch these episodes live as we record them. Those are all down there, so check those out if you'd like. Also, like, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. Or don't. I'm not your dad, but I'd like to be. Okay, so we are going to get into this, but something I thought was really interesting. We had Felix on the channel about a year and a half ago, maybe a little bit more. And it was such a out of nowhere thing because I had reached out to him before, and then he commented on our Stolen Tongues video on YouTube, and he was like, "Hey, I wrote that book." And I'm like, "Holy shit, you're Felix Blackwell. Oh my god, can you email me, please?" And so he sent me an email, and we got the whole interview set up. It was super surreal. I was like just fanboying all over the place. But yeah, he came on and hung out and told me all about the the writing of Stolen Tongues, which is probably one of, if not my favorite horror novel ever. And so we had a great discussion about that. And I think he was indie at the time. He was either indie publishing it, or he was part of like a very, very small publishing house. But he sent me an email not too long ago that I find really interesting. I had reached out to him. So this book came out last November, and I did not realize it had come out for like months and months and months. And I had it sitting in my Audible library once I realized it came out, but I just got distracted with other books and doing like rereads and everything. And I only got around to reading it very recently. So I read it, loved it, sent him an email, and I was like, "Hey, I finally got around to reading this. Oh my god, it is so good. Will you please come on the channel and chat with us?" And he sends me an email saying, "Hey Spencer, so glad to hear you enjoyed Sorrow Stones. Thank you for reading." Cut. Hold up, Spencer of the past. You are about to reveal privileged information unknowingly. Let's back it up a step, and we will need to edit that part out. Basically, what Spencer of 2 weeks ago was about to say here is that I had reached out to Felix to get him on the show, and he said that he wouldn't be able to until around May of next year for certain reasons. At the time of the recording of this episode, I didn't know that those reasons were not public knowledge, but eventually you guys will find out. I just can't reveal them here in this episode, unfortunately. So you may see some weird edits throughout this episode. I can't remember how much I talked about it, if I brought it up later or what, so I may just have to kind of cut little sections out. Essentially, after this episode, I exchanged a couple more emails with Felix where he was like, "Let's maybe not reveal that yet." And I said, "Don't worry, I will edit it out of the episode," which is what I'm doing. However, he was down to answer some questions I had about the Sorrow Stones, which are really, really interesting. His answers, I mean, not necessarily my questions. So when we get to the spoiler section, you will see me again, and I will go through the little Q&A that I had with him over email. Okay, so we are going to go through a spoiler-free rundown of this book real quick for anybody who has not read it, because I feel like, if we just put out the spoiler episode, it probably wouldn't do that well because most people have probably not read it necessarily. Um, but we are going to give you a spoiler-free review. Go read the book and then come back and you can listen to our spoiler thoughts. So add in anything you want, Gabe. I would say, as far as the basic premise of this book, without giving too much away, is that you're following a kid named Cole. He is your sole point of view. It's only him. And you're following him from the ages of like 6 to like maybe 18 or 20 or something around there. Like basically all the way through high school is what you're seeing. And early on, someone or something is making these little like physical totems showing up in his life. They're called, the namesake of the book, the Sorrow Stones, and they show up from time to time. Sometimes they just appear in his pocket. Sometimes a masked stranger will give one to him. And like every couple years, he'll get a new one. And what he learns early on is that these things are making his life easier while making other people's lives harder. And he has to kind of decide if the benefit that he is gaining from these things, if it is worth the chaos he is causing to other people. Would you agree with that, Gabe?
Yep, I would agree with that. The stones are kind of the major premise. I
Yeah.
will say that the mechanics at work in this book
Hmm.
are really really unique and like really really intriguing.
Yeah.
Uh, the way that reactions and opposite reactions are happening,
Yeah.
um, and that's what I think I probably liked the most, was that intricacy and the choices that Cole, has to learn about and then think about and then make depending
Yeah.
on what is happening around him due to these totems. It was, yeah, it was really cool, and it's also quite, can be quite disturbing,
Yeah.
which
That was one of the
which
first texts you had sent me. You were like, this book
yes,
is really disturbing.
yes, it can be quite disturbing, and I also like that. I think it worked really well with setting the tone for
How
um
brutal
how
this book is going to
brutal,
be.
yeah, how brutal the book is going to be, and also like how real, like what these things are doing is like,
The
just,
consequences.
yes, the consequences and the reality of like what's going on. um
Yeah.
kind of a be careful what you wish for type thing, although
Hmm.
he doesn't really know he's wishing for this stuff, at least until further on. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that was a great description there where like for anybody who doesn't quite understand yet, these stones will basically um just for a quick example, if you have anxiety and you pick up a stone, and these aren't conscious, like he's not going out and getting these stones. Like something is giving these stones to him. And if you have anxiety and you're given a stone that takes away your anxiety, it's going to mess with somebody else's mental health. So that's the kind of yin and yang
yeah,
we're dealing with here, where every good thing that comes Cole's way, it is like Gabe said just now, it is having a an opposite reaction. For every reaction, there is an opposite
equal and
react
opposite reaction,
equal
yeah.
and equal and opposite reaction. Yeah, um, and so someone else is getting screwed every time something good happens to him, and I think that is the most interesting thing because it brings up this moral dilemma.
Yeah,
Because without going into spoilers, it almost gets to a point where to give away the Sorrow Stone would cause more harm than hanging on to it. And that's where things get really complicated and really morally gray, where he's like, I know if I get rid of this stone, this opposite reaction is going to happen, and will that hurt more people than me just hanging on to it?
Yeah.
And so it leads to a lot of that stuff. Another thing that I really like about the book, I'm not a huge Stephen King fan, but I think one thing he does really well is coming of age, watching a character grow up and kind of deal with
Yeah.
the world and learn to live in the world. We read Fairy Tale. We really liked Fairy Tale. That was a great coming of age book. And I think he does that really well, and I think Felix does that really well here, because you're literally watching Cole grow up from like in the first chapter when we meet him, he's like 6 years old or something, 6 or 8, or he's really young. And then we follow him all the way through high school. So that was really cool, because I hadn't seen Felix Blackwell do that yet. Like he hasn't written a story until now that spanned many years. So I thought that was a really cool creative endeavor for him. And then he also does a really good job of writing long-term consequences that play out over the entire book. Like a decision that Cole makes at the very beginning of the book is going to have ramifications at the end, and it's going to have big ramifications, I think. And then to kind of, close this up in a couple ways, another thought I had about this one, in a spoiler-free way, is I feel like too many horror books have like a blatantly happy ending. Like, have you felt this way, Gabe, where you're reading a horror book, and even though it's scary and there's really tense things happening in the middle, do you often feel like things are going to end up happily overall for
Yeah,
our
I mean, I
protagonist?
feel like that's like that's the thing. That's what
Hmm.
most people like to see. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's why it's done so often.
Yeah.
Um,
And
but
I,
man, it sets such a different tone when that doesn't happen.
yeah.
It leaves you feeling
Yes.
so different in such a good way. Like,
Hmm. I don't know. I certainly don't mind happy endings in
yeah,
horror books, especially if I get really close to the protagonist or the
yeah,
characters or whatever. But it it is so nice to have a book that, and just to be clear, no spoilers, the book doesn't really tell you. Like, it kind of leaves it up in the air, where it's like, is there a happy ending? Is it a bad ending? Like, it's kind of up to you
yeah,
to decide. Um, and I would say, in my opinion, there may be like a salvageable ending, but a
yeah,
happy ending, I don't it like it didn't leave me going like, oh, everybody walked out of that okay, and they figured out the MacGuffin, and they,
yeah,
they defeated the evil guy. I didn't walk away feeling like that, and
yeah,
so I kind of like that.
yep.
I
I'm
kind
with
of
you.
like that. So the ending is definitely one of those that is very up for interpretation, but it also doesn't leave you being like, that was too vague. Like, I didn't feel like it was too vague. I didn't feel like it was too concrete to where like, oh, everybody's happy and we defeated the thing. I feel like it was perfect. I really liked where it left us. What about you, Gabe? Any spoiler free thoughts before we go into spoilers? Any of the what did you think of the characters? Did they stick with you at all?
Yeah, oh yeah. I like the characters a lot.
I
I
think the
think
friend group was really good.
the friend group was cool. I think my favorite like interactions were those equal and opposite reactions
Yeah.
from the stones. Those
Yeah.
are probably talk about more in spoiler, but
Yeah.
um I enjoyed I enjoyed that a lot, and the mechanics of it.
Yeah, I would agree. I really liked the as far as like the other characters and stuff, I really liked the relationship that he developed with his sister.
Yes,
That was
yes.
really great. And then just the friend group in general, like, I'll give one quote from the book. It won't spoil anything. But they're trick or treating, and Cole and his friend are looking at this thing that got put in his bag, and his friend says, "Is it a chocolate turtle?" And Cole says, "No, it's Jade." And his friend says, "Maybe they thought you were too fat for the chocolate ones." And I love the banter. And they swear at each other like these kids are cussing,
Mm-hmm.
which is what I did when I was their age. It's why I'm such a foul mouth now. And and it's just like Felix wrote teenagers so well, even to like the little tiny bits of drama and the way that teenagers think and everything. We'll we'll definitely talk about that in spoilers, but there's a certain, teenagers aren't always rational, and that's how he writes them. And so I really liked that. I really liked that. But yeah, please go read the Sorrow Stones. It will at this point right now in July. So far, this is in my top 3 for the year. So far, this is in my top 3. So hopefully that's a high enough recommendation for you guys. Please go check it out, and then come back for our spoiler discussion, which we will be going into now. All right, I am back with some juicy insights from Felix Blackwell himself. This is a reminder that we are firmly in the spoiler section. This Q&A with Felix is not by any means spoiler free. Also, Felix, if you're watching this, thank you so much for answering my questions, and thank you for this book. You are an incredibly talented author, and I'm so glad that you're continuing to put out these fantastic stories for all of us to enjoy. But anyways, here's some questions that I asked Felix through email, and he was kind enough to respond. Again, full spoilers. If you haven't read the book, go away. Go bye, bye, bye. Okay, so I asked what inspired the book. It felt very Stephen King-ish with the coming of age story and the banter between the kids, so I was curious if he had influenced you at all. Felix responds and says, I read Dead End Tunnel by Nick Roberts and was reminded that I too had written a story loosely based on my childhood in the 90s and had never done anything with it, so I rewrote it into a novel. Some events in the Sorrow Stones are actually true, which is the same for his Stolen Tongues book as well. He mentioned that in our previous interview. Back to what he's saying. I did have a teacher who became very ill, but I did not have a sorrow stone to save her with. I also found a strange carven statue in my Halloween candy when I was 10 or 11, although it did not curse me. That you know of, Felix, that you know of. Okay. Riley Gates, the bully in Sorrow Stones, is based on a bully I knew in middle and high school. I would love to know more about that. And I'm gonna have to check out Dead End Tunnel. That's really cool. I've never heard of that book. I will have to check that out. My next question was, what are some things that you think most people will miss on a first read through of this book, or just in general? Felix responds and says, I think they often misunderstand the dream sequence at the end of the novel, which explains the future of the Sorrow Stones. Yeah, I think this is kind of what I was getting at with this question, is that ending sequence could be interpreted so many ways. And it kind of leads into my next question here, because at the end of the book, we see the dream sequence with everybody standing in the line. And I feel like I personally, I wasn't entirely sure if all those people in the line are future people that will receive sorrow stones, or if they are people that have already received sorrow stones and are kind of waiting for their turn to kind of pay the price for it. Next, I asked, will we see more from this universe or these characters? I'd love to catch up with Cole and Kelly in 10 years their time. Felix says, I've got some more ideas for this universe, definitely. Whether I get around to turning them into another book is a big question. Huh. I will probably use different characters and different Sorrow Stones since they pass from person to person over the centuries. Um, Interesting. Yeah, I'd be so curious what other ideas he has for this series, because obviously I enjoyed this book a lot and I would love more from it. Whether I get around to turning them into another book is a big question. I hope he does. I really do. I really hope that he gets around to making another one. I had kind of assumed that the next book just would be the sequel, or whatever you want to call it, to this, or a prequel or whatever, much like he did with Stolen Tongues and Church Beneath the Roots. But maybe he's going on to something else. If I had him here to interview, I probably would have asked what his kind of next thing is. But judging by something he had said in the email, I don't know if I would necessarily get an answer for that. So I'm curious to see what he does next. So then I said, are there going to be consequences from throwing the blue crane into the lake? What about all the other stones in Brian's old house? Felix says, I think there will be consequences someday for whoever dives down there and finds it, but yes, there were immediate consequences for Kelly and Cole for getting rid of it. I think there would have been consequences for Brian losing all of his Sorrow Stones if he wasn't dead. This is really interesting because the book ends shortly after this. And so we don't really get to see the immediate fallout from getting rid of a Sorrow Stone. And I think that was one of my biggest questions at the end of the book, because we see what happens when Cole hides it. He goes, and I forget where exactly. I think it's in the woods. He goes and hides his Sorrow Stones that he's kind of been holding on to. And he gets like this anxiety comes back, and all these things start happening. But I don't think I ever fully understood if that would continue long term, like if that would have just been the rest of his life, or if at some point it would have faded away. Like, what if he had moved really, really far away from the Sorrow Stone, or eventually we do see him pass them on to somebody else, but like, what if somebody else found them? Would Cole still be tied to them, or would somebody else have fully picked up the burden that is the Sorrow Stones? And so yeah, I would be really interested to know what the immediate consequences for Kelly and Cole, what their consequences are for getting rid of it, because she did touch it for a minute. Is that enough to kind of bond with the Sorrow Stone? Is that like, is her just like touching it for a moment, is that all it takes for it to kind of worm its way into your life and for you to have to pay the consequences of the Sorrow Stone? Because I don't think she was there at the end, unless I'm forgetting. I don't think she was there at the end in line to play the game against the whatever entity is kind of in charge of these things. And if there are consequences for Kelly, I feel like Cole would know that. So why would he? I narratively, I know he was trying to give her the choice to kind of repair her body and everything. But maybe a smarter move on Cole's part would have been to be like, hey, once you touch this, there's no going back. I would not get rid of it. Like, if you take it, don't get rid of it, kind of thing. So yeah, sorry, this spawned like a whole conversation with myself here. But very, very interesting answer. Okay, so I said, is there actually a way to break the cycle? Have you kind of figured that out in your own notes and outlines and stuff? And Felix says, to me, the sorrow stones represent human suffering. There are ways to mitigate and prevent it, but seemingly no way to actually get rid of it entirely. We can very easily pass it on to others, but it's very difficult to take it back or to end it. I mean, what a great poetic answer. Like, this is very very thematic, very I don't want to just say poetic again, but it is. The sorrow stones represent human suffering, and I love what he says at the end here, because you can either say it about the sorrow stones or you can say it about human suffering. They're one and the same. We can very easily pass it on to others, but it's very difficult to take it back or to end it, if not, impossible on a large scale, right? So yeah, I love that sentiment. I love that Felix was thinking about, kind of a metaphor or allegory, while writing this book. Some of my favorite books are very allegorical, very metaphorical, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I like that this has that theme. And this actually feeds into my next question, because I kind of I I like that there's no way to really end it. I love that there's no MacGuffin that saves the day, or no like sequence of doing the right thing that will cancel out all the sorrow stones. Like, this isn't a superhero movie. This isn't even like, an epic fantasy book where in the end the heroes win and everything is set to right and everything. These are horror novels that tell, kind of sad stories, kind of grim stories, and I think that is what a horror book should be. Going into my next question here, I asked Felix. We mentioned in our episode how impressed we were that you weren't afraid to not only kill mainline characters, but also leave the book with a less than happy ending. We described it as the ending is salvageable for Cole, but it's not happy, and he'll see massive consequences for everything that he's done and for giving the stones out to others. Would you agree with this take? Can you tell us more about writing an ending that doesn't necessarily end happily for anyone? So many horror books try to give you the scares and then fix everything. This was refreshing and very, very cool. Kind of a long question, I'll admit, but he has a great answer. He says, yes, I do agree with this. The Sorrow Stones have permanent effects on people even after they're gone, and the experience they give us can scar us forever. It's all a big metaphor for PTSD, basically. I like ambiguous and ominous endings that are open to interpretation, so I try that in my novels usually. I like the idea that readers are left with more questions than answers. A writer should never explain absolutely everything to the reader's satisfaction. So I really, really like this answer. And if you saw my previous interview with Felix Blackwell, you'll know that this is kind of how he is. He says in that interview that the monster is scariest when you don't know everything about it. Like, when you start to learn more about what the monster is, it starts to become more of a action movie, or an action book. Like, okay, now we know what it is, we know how to defeat it, now let's get rid of it, and carrying that out. Horror is at its best when you very rarely see the monster. And that's, kind of the interesting part about it. Like, think about The Grudge or The Ring. The scariest parts of those movies is when you don't know what the fuck is going on. You know what I mean? Like, when you're like, I don't know, there's a girl crawling out of a TV and it's scary as fuck. Um, I think that is when horror is at its best. And like I said in my questions here, I think so many horror books that I have read are so hesitant to give you that bleak ending, to give you the ending where you're like, oh no, everything just got worse and worse and worse, and it never became okay, really. I think a lot of horror books want to give you, or horror writers want to give you that full ride, that full, get to the end and the good guys have prevailed. They may be scarred, they may be hurt, but in the end they prevail. Um, and so few authors are willing to just completely fuck with you. Okay, one question left. I could go on for a while about this. I will try not to. Because I can't remember. I honestly can't remember if I have made a video about this or if I was like planning to make a video about this. I'll have to check because at some point this conversation needs to be on our channel somewhere. But I said any insight into the writing process for how slowly it unfolded as far as going down the rabbit hole little by little. Every chapter was so engaging and unlocked another piece of the puzzle. Was it all outlined ahead of time or question mark? And so I guess what I mean by this is in the episode that you are all watching right now, or maybe you're watching the clip later, in the full length episode, Gabe and I say reading this book was like falling down a rabbit hole. Like there was like twists and turns and all of it was kind of perfectly paced to be that like every chapter it felt like you were going deeper and deeper down and that you were not going to be able to turn back. Like it felt I don't use this in a negative sense, even though it's totally going to sound like it almost felt claustrophobic, where you're like in this tight corridor and you can go forward, but it is extremely difficult to back up and maneuver backwards. I always think about the vent in Die Hard, and it makes me sweat because I'm very very claustrophobic. So Felix responds to this and he says, yes, I'm a very big plotter. I usually won't even begin the manuscript until I know pretty much everything about the characters, the setting, and the plot. It's just the way I am. I've never been able to pants or garden successfully. Plus, plotting helps me trim the fat and cut the superfluous with my new teeth. That's hard to say. And cut the superfluous scenes that don't move the story forward. You see a lot of that in pantsed novels. And Felix, I could not agree with you more. Like 100% agree. Like I am so happy that you said this. We may have even talked about this in the interview last year or whenever it was. But I am borderline anti-pantsing. Like I don't necessarily like, I know people are starting to use like the garden term and I'm just like, come on, man. Come on. Like let's call it what it is. Like I mean, and it makes sense why I love Felix's books so much is because they are plotted out. I swear to God, there's people that have told me you can't tell. Like you can't tell when something's been plotted or when something's been pantsed. I promise you 100% I can tell. And I think a lot of people can and just don't recognize what it is. Maybe they don't put the pieces together, but they understand that something is different when something is pantsed versus plotted. I think readers can tell. And I know that I can tell just because I've learned a lot about, plotting and pantsing and the differences and all that. And I really appreciate that Felix calls this out here. I don't think he's necessarily against pantsing. I don't think he would want me to say that on his behalf. But judging by this answer here, I'm just kind of like, yeah, I totally agree. Anytime I read a book that has like clearly been pantsed, it always kind of meanders, and maybe the first book is good, but you'll get into a series, and you'll get like 5 books down the line, and you'll be like, where the hell are we? But going back to specifically about him, I'm a very big plotter. I won't even begin the manuscript until I know pretty much everything about the characters, setting, and the plot. Um, and I hallelujah. Like I think that is the best way to write a book, just from a reader's point of view. I'm just like, yeah, that's what I like. To I want the author to know everything. Like I want to be able to ask questions even if I'm never even able to talk to the author. I As the reader, I want to be able to ask questions about the world and believe that the author knows, that the author has that kind of planned out. And obviously there are things where it's like, an author is never going to know they won't be able to answer every question you have for them. But as a reader, I want to believe that the author knows significantly more than I do from reading it. Like I want the author to kind of have like a notes and an outline of everything, because it comes through in the story and it makes it feel more structured. And like I said, I just feel like readers can tell. And there you have it. That is the Q&A with Felix Blackwell. This is significantly longer than I thought it would be. Hopefully I can edit it down to be less than the 30 minutes of my recording time. But I will probably clip this out and make it a video on its own as well. So if you just want to see the Q&A, then you can do that. But I wanted to include it here for the official Sorrow Stone episode for the channel. But yeah, enjoy the rest of the episode. Gabe and I are gonna continue discussing it and go into our favorite scenes and everything. So enjoy. All right, Gabe. Spoilers. General spoiler thoughts. What do you think? Did you like the book? Was
I
it
did.
middle of the
Yeah.
road? What'd you think?
No, I did like the book. Definitely not as much as Stolen Tongues. I
Oh,
think Stolen
okay.
Tongues is still a level above. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
just in my opinion, the
Sure.
the thing that I really liked the most was just the I don't think I paid as much attention. Mind you, like I liked it, but I don't think I paid as much attention to the relationships of like just the people. I was kind of hooked on the stones.
Yeah.
Like I really liked, you learn about like, and I don't remember which stone does what, but for instance, the first
The
death.
monkey got rid of his anxiety.
What's the one that got rid of his horrible stomach disorder?
The
Do you
turtle,
remember?
the
The
jade
turtle.
turtle. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the first like really big consequence you see of him using that
Yes.
was his friend. I forgot his
Noah.
name. Noah. His friend. It's like the first stone he gets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the first stone he gets, and he's holding it, and his stomach feels better, and he's like, "Oh my god, this is incredible. I
This is
need to
life
keep this
changing.
on me all the time." And
Mm-hmm.
then slowly, his best friend like starts, he starts acting weird. He starts getting weird, and
Getting
he doesn't.
sick.
He's getting sick, and he's like so hungry, and or maybe not
Yeah.
hungry.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
hungry.
yeah,
Yeah.
so hungry, and there's nothing that could fix it, and then he fucking snaps and kills
Mm-hmm.
his parents and eats him.
Yep. He eats
And
his parents, and then he like throws up like blood. He's like on his front lawn, like
yeah,
throwing up blood, and like bile is just like
yeah,
coming out of him. It was
super
a it was
super violent.
gnarly.
It was
Yeah.
gnarly, dude. And that's not the only time that happens.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
There's
it was that was the thing I think I liked the most, and obviously him navigating and learning. I don't think then he even realizes it's the stone. I don't think he
No, he
realizes
doesn't
it
figure it out until
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 kind
his
of
sister
further.
goes into the
Yes,
ward.
yes, and that's the anxiety stone, right? I'm
Right.
pretty
Yep.
sure. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's
Um.
the monkey.
Yes, the monkey, and so yeah, it's just fucking cool, dude. Like it's such a
Yeah.
cool idea and such a cool premise, and then of course that said, he finally starts to understand what's happening. And so
Yeah.
he's like, okay, how can I, I need to figure this out. I need to get to the
Right.
bottom of this. And then he starts searching, trying to figure out where the stones came from. I can't remember when did the man in the mask get, that was Halloween, right? And
Yeah, that was Halloween, and I think that was the
it was Brian's house, right? The homeless
yeah.
guy's house or whatever.
Yeah, Michael was the homeless guy, Brian was his brother,
Yes. Yes.
and I think that was the snake that he got.
Okay.
Because I think the monkey just showed up in his pocket.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. And so yeah, he had to, finally chase down,
Try to figure out where they're coming
yeah,
from.
where they're coming from. Where did they originate? Like why were they given to him? And of course that story is really cool. That's more
Yeah.
towards the end.
I just loved the like the book was kind of a slow burn, but not in a bad way. I feel like you're just getting little tidbits of information because
Yeah.
how would you ever figure this out? Like how
Yeah,
would
for
you
sure.
ever like
Exactly.
really dial in other than just like a gnawing feeling that the stones are what's causing
Yeah.
everything?
And at one I mean it like became so repetitive that then it became obvious, right?
Right.
Like it can only be coincidence so many times.
Right. Yeah.
And so yeah, that's just cool, man.
Yeah. It's
Fucking
it's so cool. And then he started having like crazy dreams,
yes.
and that brought in like I love that you don't really see the bad guy until the very end,
Yeah.
and even then it's not like a I think the thing that I liked about it is it's not a bad guy you can really fight. Like it's
Yeah.
not it's not like, oh, I cornered the demon and I used the stone against it and power came out from the stone and blasted the demon away. It's just the the demon is just a force of nature. Like there's
Yeah, I would
nothing
say
you can
that
really do.
the bad guy had won this battle the second he got a hold of the very first stone.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
that's the whole point of the curse, is to get the stones out there, and they're out there
Yep.
regardless if
And
obviously Brian was the one that kind of shepherded them out, but they're
right.
they're doing their evil now, and even after the end, they're doing their evil.
Yes, I think that's the thing I find so compelling and why I brought up like the ending isn't necessarily a good one,
No.
because even if Cole and his mom are safe, he's given out the stones trying to repair the things that he's done. Like he gives Simon the one that cures anxiety
Yep.
so that
The
Simon wouldn't become a psychopath.
Yes.
He
That scene was
gives
that scene was really cool too.
Oh, so good. It was
Yeah.
so good. He gives Riley the wooden elephant, I think it was, so that he
Mhm.
could see what his future will be
Yes.
if he
Yes.
keeps being an asshole.
Yeah.
Um and then I thought there was one other. What did he do with the turtle? He gave the I think he gave the turtle to the teacher,
Yes. Yeah.
the
Because
the
she was like,
Spanish teacher or
yeah.
whatever,
Yep. She had
to
cancer,
yeah, to
right?
to
And she was
cure
like,
her like tumor or cancer or
yeah.
whatever it
Yep.
was. But that's just like he's trying so hard to repair the damage that he's done, but by doing that, it is continuing the process
Yep.
of these things going out. And so I think the thing that's so cool about it is like, yeah, for our character, he has salvaged his life,
That's it. But
and
he's ruined six more.
yeah, but like in a large scale, it has not solved anything.
Nope.
I was like, dude, when I got to that ending, I'm just like, oh, that is exactly what I wanted. That is
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
what I wanted.
Yeah. It's cool because if you think about it, dude, like the stone that the teacher has.
Yeah.
She's constantly being healed, and that life force is constantly being taken by somebody around her.
Yeah.
The person around her's gonna die. What happens next goes on to somebody else. They're gonna
Yep.
die in the future. What happens next? It will not stop. Like it won't
Yep.
stop. And I
Yeah.
wonder, I wonder, like, did they? Because
How
he tried to get rid of him, right? And he
Yeah.
can't do
Yeah,
that.
he tried to get rid of him and they kept calling back to him
Yeah,
and more things would happen.
yeah,
And it's like how do you ever contain and when he went into Brian's house at the end, there was like 100 of them.
yeah.
Like in the house just on the shelves and stuff. He's like how would you ever stop this? Like how can it ever be contained? It
You can't.
can't. Like
Yeah, you can't.
oh man, such a good idea.
Yeah.
Such a good premise. Um yeah, I had so much like it's hard to say that I had fun with this book, but I was enthralled the whole time.
Yes, for
Like
sure,
I
for
did
sure.
not want to stop at all.
Yeah, yeah. It was a really, really solid mind bending kind of edge of your seat type book for
100%.
yeah,
And then you start seeing consequences like my favorite sequence of the book, or like one of my favorite sequences of the book, is when he gets the golden snake and his family gets super rich, and then the Kelly, the girl that he's in love with,
yep,
her family across the street goes into financial ruin.
yep,
And so that's like the first like in your face, can't ignore it, big consequence,
yes,
right?
yes,
And then he gets the charcoal raven, and his mom is a very accomplished artist both through painting and music.
yep,
And the when he realizes what the charcoal raven does, that just broke my heart. Like
yep,
that his mom not being able to like hear music correctly, and like her fingers fumbling on the piano, and not being able to paint while his painting gets really good and his music gets really good. And and the line that broke me, and I imagine broke Cole as well, is when Cole is sitting at the piano and his mom has been struggling for chapters and chapters
yeah,
with her music, and he starts playing a beautiful melody, and she just comes and sits down next to him and is smiling and enjoying his success.
yeah.
And he just turns to her and he's like, I'm sorry, mom. Like I I'm doing this
I
great thing with music while you don't have it.
yeah,
And she says something to the effect of, I always wanted to pass my music down to my kids,
yeah.
and now I have. It just means that I don't have it now. And she doesn't understand why
No,
it's happening, but that was just, oh dude, that moment broke me. That was such a
yeah,
sad moment where she's like, I've always hoped my kids would pick up my artistic proclivities.
yeah,
um and now you have, and it's just like, oh, but you don't even know,
yep,
oh, so good.
yep,
Oh, so good.
yep.
um but yeah, there was I read through it a second time. There was lots of great foreshadowing all the way through this book, just like little hints at what's to come. um and I loved Kelly. She was such a great character when she was there. One of the first lines in the book is talking about his friend Squeeze, Scotty.
Yep.
I love the name Squeeze. It's so funny. And he has that name because Kelly grabbed him by the balls and squeezed until his voice rose 2 octaves. That was the day when I realized I loved her.
Yep, that's a good
So
one.
good. So
That's a good
good.
one.
And then she's got a great scene later where, Cole, his family starts getting wealthier and she starts to notice him a little bit more. And they start kind of seeing each other a little bit, and they go to the arcade together. And is it Griffin is the first bully? And
Yeah.
she punches him in the face, and they run off and they help the homeless guy. And
Yep.
it was just such a great. I'm like, I love that. I'm like, that's what I love about coming of age books is
Yep.
like this kind of teen romances where they're just kind of figuring each other out. And I don't know, I liked it. I liked her relationship with Cole.
Yeah.
um and then we get Emily later, which was another really interesting character. Do you have any particular thoughts on Emily?
Uh, I wouldn't say particular. No, I liked her. Emily was like the girl at school, right?
Yeah, she was like the super popular
She
girl.
is
Yeah.
super popular, hottest chick, and so that, of course, is because of the stone is why
Yeah.
he pulls her, and yeah, I liked her. She
Yeah.
wasn't anything crazy, but I liked her.
I liked I liked her reason, like when I mentioned earlier that, the book does a great job with making or like writing teenagers that maybe act irrationally or make decisions for like, something that like maybe an adult wouldn't do
Yeah,
necessarily.
yeah,
She broke up with him
yes,
because he was too popular. She's like,
yeah.
I don't know. She's like, it's hard to go out with you when like I'm just gonna be
Every
jealous all
girl
the
is staring
time.
at you, and yeah, I'm gonna be jealous of you anytime any woman looks at you or whatever else.
Yeah. Uh,
Definitely a teenager thing.
Rationale.
Rationale, exactly.
Oh
But
man.
also kind of, I don't know, it's also kind of wise. I mean, because it's true. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if he keeps the stone, that is going to happen forever. And if she is a jealous person, so I don't
Yeah.
know. I kind of see where she's coming from. Definitely
Yeah.
uh, a younger rationale, as you
Yeah,
said.
for sure. And Cole even mentions, I think near the end of the book, he's like, what would happen if I held on to the blue crane for the rest of my life? He's like, would
Yeah,
I eventually look like Brad Pitt? Would I
yeah,
be a
yeah,
celebrity? Like what would happen?
yep, yeah,
Um and yeah, I liked that whole part of the book where he gets the blue crane, he starts to get really popular, and then Mr. Dansk,
yeah. I was just gonna say we should talk about Mr. Dansk.
dude, that was so crazy. He becomes like obsessed with Cole,
Yeah.
and I don't think I didn't realize until much later that
Oh, I
his
did.
interest in Cole had anything to do with the stone. I thought he was just like the friendly teacher.
Nope, I
And
knew,
then
dude. I could tell from like the second time he worked for Mr. Dance. I was like,
yeah,
this is kind of creepy. Yeah.
there's something weird, like there's something weird going on with this.
Yep.
And when Emily and Cole had their first, not their first date, but it was the date where Cole was going to like kiss her and ask her to be his girlfriend and everything. And they like share their first kiss, and they look up and Mr. Dansk is just like there.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey guys, I saw you in this diner."
Yeah.
It's like, "Whoa, what is
Yep.
going on?"
And
Um
so I don't quite remember what like led up to this. I think Cole was like he didn't have the stone. He gave the stone to fix his stomach to somebody else, and he had his dad's Escalade, right? Him and Emily, or him
mhm.
and is that when they see Dansk again? When Dance tries to kill Cole, or am I mistaken?
Yeah, what is the order of events there?
I mean, I guess.
Because
Go ahead. Sorry.
Dansk, yeah, somehow.
Dansk like shows up in his car.
Oh, it was after Cole got his ass kicked
Oh,
by
okay.
by Riley and the other
Yeah.
kids. And
Okay.
then he's like on the side of the road, and then Dansk shows up and he's like, "Hey, get in the."
Yeah, I'll give you a ride. I'll give you a
Yeah, he's
ride
like, "I'll
home.
give you a ride." he says like weird things like no teenager should have those lips and like
Yeah.
all this weird stuff. He's like, you're like walking around the high school like Mr. Popular. He's like, I was never popular. None of the girls ever wanted to talk to me. And he's like, and you just have like pick of the litter. Like you could have sex with any girl here, and you choose just to not do anything with it because he was upset that Cole was a virgin.
Yeah.
He's like, are you a
Yeah.
virgin? Cole's like, yeah, I haven't done anything. And he's like, you're not even using it. Like he gets super upset.
Yeah.
Um,
And then the line that like wigged me out was, this is like when he's like actively like choking Cole, I think. Uh
yeah,
Dance says something along the lines of, he's like, "What have you done to me? All I can do is
yes,
fantasize about a fucking high school boy. What have you done to me? Why is this
yeah,
happening?" And I was like,
dude,
"No shit, that's crazy, dude."
yeah. Isn't that
Yeah,
nuts? Like,
it's
oh
fucking
my
wild.
god, it shows you just how like far-reaching
Yes, and how
this.
powerful the fucking that stuff is, dude.
Yeah, and like some of the stones are much more targeted. Like when he picks up the um the charcoal raven, the link is specifically between him and his mom. Nobody else is
Yep.
affected. But when he's got the blue crane, that was a really powerful one, and it
Yeah.
affected like everybody around him.
Same with the anxiety one too, right? Because it sent his sister away,
Yes.
right? And then it made his dad kill himself, right?
What did make his dad
Because
do
his
that?
sister went psycho, and then his dad went psycho, like schizophrenic, real weird, bad, stuff. And I don't know. The only one I could think of
Yeah.
was the anxiety stone, but
Yeah, I thought that maybe his dad had touched the wooden elephant, maybe.
mm,
But I can't remember. There was something specifically that made his dad go
lose it.
crazy.
Okay, I think you're right. I
Um,
think I do remember. Yeah.
because the dad came into the room in the morning because Cole in his like dream state had like gone out to the tree and like carved
Yes.
off a huge chunk of
Yep.
it, and
Yep.
his dad came in and like picked up the stone, was like, what the hell is this, like, um
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I can't remember exactly what made his dad do that, but it was
Yeah.
something. I don't know. I just thought everything everything with his whole family, I'm just like, dude, all of these just destroyed his family.
Yeah. Not only
Just
his family, but like the families of everybody around him,
yeah.
and fucking killed his friends.
Dude,
Almost caused a
the
mass shooting at a school. Like, they're so bad,
yes,
dude.
dude, the two biggest moments for me as far as like what the hell
Yeah.
were the golden snake. It makes him super rich, or makes his family super rich, and then Kelly's family goes like just nosedives
Yeah.
financially.
Terribly. Not
And
only
then
financially, but like, I mean, it ruins his parents' relationship even worse than it already is, and turns him
yeah.
into a drunk, and, well, maybe not turn him into it, but
Yeah.
exacerbates. I think
Yeah,
exacerbates.
it exacerbates. Yeah,
Yeah.
it for sure does. And he ends up like setting the dad ends up like setting his house on fire.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
kills the
With
mom.
his daughter and his wife inside of it.
Yes.
Yep.
Isn't that crazy? And then, Cole and his dad run inside and are able to get Kelly out, but she is so badly burned.
Yep.
And this was the moment where I'm like, oh man, this book is not pulling any punches.
No.
Like, holy
No.
crap. I mean, in the first chapter alone, Noah dies
In a freaking wickedly disturbing way.
in a wickedly disturbing way. And then, is it, I think it's Kevin. I have it written down. Yeah, Kevin.
Oh, he's the one in the arcade, right?
Yeah, he's the one in the arcade, and he shoots the bullies. He kills all of the bullies, and a stray bullet kills Allison,
Yeah.
who is Squeeze's girlfriend.
Yep.
That was such a huge moment where I'm like, oh my god, like how do we, like there's no getting off this train, like
No.
how, and Cole has like this whole prophecy of Simon cutting open Squeeze's like throat, like sawing his head off, and it's like, oh, how do we get to that moment? Because it's kind of set up as like a prophetic thing, like this will happen in the future.
No.
And then over the next few chapters, watching Simon slowly turn into what Kevin
Yeah.
was, and Scotty becomes like a skinhead, and he hangs out with the bullies, like he
Yep.
shaves his head and everything, and it's just like what is going on? Just everybody becomes the worst version of themselves.
Yeah.
There's a certain point in the book where everything is just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. There, like the first half of the book, things are kind of going up and down. Like things get better, things get worse, things get better, things get worse, and then you hit a point where you're just like circling the drain,
Downward spiral for
and it's
sure.
just getting worse and worse.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Oh,
The scene with Simon and the bullies, right? They get cornered. I think in the bathroom, Cole is
yes.
trying to talk to Simon. You know, Simon's messed up real bad.
Yeah.
Uh, wants to
Because
do
the
some.
blue crane is pulling all the life
Yes.
from
Yes.
Simon and giving it to Cole.
Yep. Exactly. And you know, Simon pulls out a gun and he's like gonna kill these bullies, like, and probably not only them.
Yeah,
I would
right.
assume he's gonna go on a
Yeah, it
rampage.
it seemed like he was gonna go on a like a shooting kind
Yeah.
of thing.
And Cole, he's like, take this, gives it to him, puts it in his hand, and like you can just see like the instantaneous magic. And
Yeah.
Simon comes back. It's like, what the fuck? What?
Yep.
This is crazy. Like,
He's like,
what is
why am
happening
I
here?
doing this? Why am I
Yeah,
doing
exactly.
this?
Why am I? What is happening? And I don't know. For me, that was like that was when it went from, you know, like obviously there's magic at work to like, okay, there is like very potent,
Yeah.
deadly magic at work, you know?
Yeah. This isn't like a passive. I mean, I
Yeah,
guess it is kind of passive, but it's not like a slow burn thing that happens over a while. Like
yeah,
it was an immediate effect that got rid
yeah,
of
which was,
Scotty's state
yep,
of mind.
yeah, it was crazy. And then that's when, I think that's when they, you know, Cole's finally like, okay, I need to find the house where I got the first one, right?
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
talking to Simon and he explains everything to Simon. And then somehow, I can't remember when, but Scotty, you know, takes off the neo-Nazi hat and comes back to help them.
Yeah.
I can't remember how that panned out,
Yeah,
but
I think because I think Scotty was with Riley in that bathroom. He
yes,
was with
yes,
Riley and
okay,
Simon.
perfect. And so
Um,
Cole's explaining to both of them, well, all of
yeah,
them, the bullies as well.
yeah,
And he's like, you know, this is real. Like, this is
hmm
real. And then he
and he
gives,
gives Riley the wood elephant.
yes, and then Riley sees a scene of like his mom dying or something terrible happening to his mom.
Yeah,
Yeah, some
yeah,
fucking crazy stuff, dude.
that was a great scene. I love this moment because it's so true. I don't know if you've ever seen somebody who maybe like was a bully in high school and then you meet them later in life and they're just like a normal person.
Yeah,
But there's this moment where Cole gives Riley the wood elephant. It shows Riley his future and instantly turns him around.
yep,
And Cole remarks, he's like the vacant, like scary shark eyes went away, and
yeah,
suddenly he was just another kid.
yeah, yeah.
And that was a really cool moment.
No kidding. Uh,
Um, but yeah, I'm trying to see. I There's some other really good moments. Before Allison dies, she tells Cole that Kelly is living with her grandparents, and she's
Yeah.
recovering from her
Yep.
burns and everything. And she says that she loves him and his dad both. Allison, this is when Allison is dating Squeeze, and they're in Scotty's house, and she tells him that Allison says she loves them, and he just starts breaking down, and he hugs her, and she hugs him back, and she just like holds him for a moment, and he tells her about everything. That was a really good scene.
Yeah.
And then later we see Kelly come back, and he goes to her and he's like, I feel so bad about everything. And she's like, no, you saved me, like I owe everything to you.
But
um
he knows that's not true. He's the one
yeah,
that caused it, you know?
yeah, he knows it's not true.
Which, could you imagine, dude?
I know.
Oh my god.
The guilt
Talk about
and
a guilt ferret, dude.
yeah, and all throughout the book, when Cole does not when he is not holding on to the stone, there is something in his mind telling him he needs to off himself. He there
Yep.
like it's like
Yeah.
you should just get rid of yourself. Like you're the one that started all this. Like da da da. It's like this crazy like ongoing thing until he
Yeah.
picks the stones back up.
And it's almost kind of crazy. Like, it's almost like the stones, like, kind of start acting like a drug,
Yes,
you
for
know?
sure.
Which I
Yeah.
thought, which is kind of cool. Like, the whole, and
Yeah.
the anxiety stone is what made me think of it. Because it's
Yeah.
like, he'd be in a situation where, something would have happened. He'd be anxious, be like, oh man, where's that stone at? Oh, it's upstairs. I need to hold on to it. And then he instantly feels better
Yeah.
while torturing his sister.
Yeah, exactly. And then it has the adverse
Yeah.
effect on his sister. There is a point where he goes and visits his sister.
Yeah, that was pretty cool because she obviously,
She
in
like
her,
knew.
yeah, in her schizophrenic whatever, like, she knew exactly what they were. She probably knew exactly where they came from,
Yep.
exactly why they were made, which
Mhm.
is kind of wild. I wish she told us more other than just
Yeah.
the name, because that's when we find out the name of the stones.
Yeah, that's the first time we hear Sorrow
Sorrow stones,
Stones.
yeah.
And then there's a great moment that pays off later where Michael is like when Cole is talking to the homeless guy, he's like telling him about these things, and Michael's like, what do you call them? And I was just like, oh
Yeah.
God, no.
Yeah.
Oh, it was such a great moment.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, seeing his sister in the hospital, or in the
Psych ward.
psych ward and
Yeah.
all that, um, man, that was a crazy scene.
Yeah.
She's like, you got to dig into your arm because they're written on your bones, and just like
Yeah.
crazy stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, at some point, there's like a couple times where Cole runs into Kelly, and he tells her that he loves her. And I think it's while he's dating Emily. He's like, I loved you.
Yeah.
And she's like, man, she's like, if you weren't dating Emily right now, like I'd kiss you or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that was like a whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we kind of go to like the big climax, kind of figuring out what's going on, they decide to go find Brian's house, and they realize that this is Michael's brother. Michael, I think he runs off with the snake totem, and
Yeah.
then he catches back up with Cole later, and he's like all like dressed nice and everything.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. I'm gonna help you. It's like, okay, dude. But I did really like Michael. I really liked Cole, just the person that Cole is. He's just a good person.
Yeah.
Like he goes, and every time he sees Michael, he treats him with dignity. He
Yes.
tries to help him where he can. He gives him his money. And I'm not saying you should give every homeless person your money. I'm just saying in this particular instance, Michael is a good character, and Cole cares about him. and I liked that dynamic.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I liked the two of them throughout the book, and then he helps him get to Brian's house, and basically Brian had come across the Sorrow Stones and brought Michael to ruin along with many others because Brian had the golden snake at
Yeah.
one point. And then we learn that Brian was in love with Cole's mom, and Cole's dad bullied him. So
Yeah.
there's like a multi generational thing going on here. And I kind of wonder, I think that the whole thing with the dad, I think it was said that the spirit of Brian, because Brian kind of ends up becoming one with the whatever the entity is.
Yep.
And I think it was just kind of Brian going after the dad and slowly making him insane through the stones.
Oh.
Um, I think that was his revenge on him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't even know if we mentioned that Cole's dad ends up hanging himself with jumper cables from the
Yep. At
tree.
the tree. Yeah, in his
Yeah.
backyard.
um so we learn about that. Brian's got all these pictures of Cole's mom like in his room. And then Kevin also had a bunch of pictures of Cole's sister, Cassie.
Yeah.
That was pretty crazy.
And then
Um
his diary also.
yeah, he had like written letters to her and like I'm
Love
going to break
letters
you out of
and
that asylum and
like I
stuff.
love you. Your hair smells so good. Like
Yeah.
all sorts of weird stuff.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Um, and then this whole there's kind of like this big climactic, I don't know, like I guess battle that's going on with Brian. Um
Were
and
you when you first saw like I was surprised in this book to see a zombie. Were you?
To see a zombie, um maybe I don't know, so much weird stuff had happened. And Brian specifically had the Sorrow Stone that was like the black bell,
Hmm.
that made him basically immortal. So he's like dead, but he's just kind of like a zombie, I guess. I don't. Why do you ask? Were you surprised?
Well, I think maybe I missed the whole Black Bell thing, but from what I remember, Brian's dead, right?
Yeah. He was dead when they walked in the room.
Dead when they walked in the room, and then Scotty runs over to him and is cradling him, thinking that it's Alice, right?
Yes, because Scotty had grabbed the bell.
Yes. Okay. Okay. He grabbed the
Or the
bell and he's
shell. Sorry, the shell.
yeah.
There was a shell, and he was like listening to it, and he's like,
Yep.
"Do you?" He's like, "Do you hear that? I hear
Yeah, it's
Allison."
her, yeah. And then they go in the room and he sees Brian thinking it's Alice and he's like cradling
Yep.
Brian. And then but then Brian starts like reanimating.
Yeah.
You know,
And
like coming
I
back to life and his bones are all straightening out and he's got this decaying jaw that he's trying to talk, out of with lungs that are
yep.
just dust. And so that was weird. Well, it wasn't weird. I just was surprised. I didn't
Yeah.
think I would see a
A
human
zombie.
zombie being,
Yeah.
reanimated. And I mean, it makes sense, I guess, right? Like with what goes on with these stones, anything could happen,
Sure. Yeah.
especially if he has like an OP stone.
Right. Yeah. He's definitely got an OP stone, and I think for anybody who's not a gamer, it means overpowered.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't remember if Scotty had grabbed the bell and that transferred his
That
life
was
force
that
into
was my
Brian.
understanding. That's why they were trying to get him to let go of it so hard.
Yes,
Like,
right.
Scotty, you have to let go of that. And he wouldn't. And because he's cradling Alice and he can hear her voice in it. He's not going to let go.
Yep, yep. And
Yeah.
I think that didn't Cole try to give Scotty the crane to try to fix him, but it like wasn't enough. I may
Yeah.
be misremembering that,
No,
but I think that's what happened.
that sounds right. I'm pretty sure it's a route
Um,
they tried to take for a second, anyways.
yeah. But Scotty eventually dying, it was like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
Felix was not afraid to just mercilessly
Yep.
kill
Yep.
all of Cole's friends. And even we didn't even mention it earlier, but Kevin, when he does the shooting in the arcade, he realizes what he's done and he shoots himself.
Yeah.
Like right there next
In
to everybody. He's
front of
just like
everybody.
fuck and blows his brains out.
Yeah.
And that was a moment where I'm like, oh my
Yeah, you're like,
god, like
Jesus Christ, dude.
yeah.
Like cover your eye. Oh my god.
Oh
I
man.
don't need to see that in my brain.
Right? It was so brutal. Um and I love that Felix just completely committed to it. Like
Yeah.
he just committed to causing the most amount of chaos and I can't speak for him. I haven't gotten I sent him an email with like some questions, but he didn't get back to me. Um and I had asked I think one of my questions was like it, was this just meant to like show like what the purpose of all of this death and the purpose of like all of this chaos and everything, was it just to really highlight how bad the Sorrow Stones are? Like is it just to show how absolutely out of control this
Yeah.
can get?
Yeah.
um because I think I think that's fascinating. Like I think, sometimes in these kind of books something like that will be introduced and you'll see characters die that are kind of on the periphery. It's like, oh, a classmate or oh, a teacher or whatever, but it'll never be the core group.
Yeah.
And then for Kelly to get burned, for Kevin to shoot himself, for Scotty to die by zombification, pretty
Yeah.
much, for Noah, his guts turned inside out, and his dad hung himself. Like, it's just
Dude.
like, holy crap! It's just one character
Yeah.
after another.
Yeah.
And these are also characters that you've like come to know. Like these aren't characters that like
Yeah, or
oh
just like
we didn't.
like one off. You don't get a much time with him, but he like
Yeah,
literally dedicates power and effort into making you like a character and like
yeah, it's
giving
like
it enough backstory to where like, oh my god, I love that about him. Like, he's nice this way, and then
yeah, like the
peace out.
dad, like we knew the dad really
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
And it made us like the dad. And it's like, it's like I don't know, it's just crazy. Like I feel like books don't do this enough and I
yeah,
wish more did. I hate to say that, but I feel like Red Rising may be the other example. I feel like even, well, no, the later books are pretty brutal. Red Rising is kind of similar, where you get to know these characters really well,
yeah, yeah.
and then, you know, Pierce Brown isn't
Off with
afraid
their
to
heads.
kill his characters either. But there was a great quote that I missed earlier, where Cole was he's starting to get a little bit older, and the golden snake is doing its thing, and his dad is about to tell him something that stays within the family. This doesn't leave this room. He's going to tell him about Kelly's dad going into ruin. And I love this quote that says, "My father was about to speak to me like a man, and I wanted to prove I could be one by keeping his trust."
Mm.
And then Cole's mom did the same thing earlier when talking about her aunt. She's like, "I'm gonna, speak to you
Yeah,
like an
yeah.
adult and tell you about my aunt who went a little crazy." Um, and so I just wanted to pose the question. I don't I don't know if I have a particular memory. Do you have a particular memory of your parents, like the first time they really treated you like an adult? I feel like I was always kind of clued in on like heavy family stuff, but I don't was it the same for you or no?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I always was, but there was I think yeah, definitely when I started to I think when I started to take on some responsibility and, you
Hmm.
know, kind of, but I don't know, man. I can't say for sure. I can't say for sure when.
Yeah,
And
I
I don't
will
know if there
say
was like a time where I was like, "Oh my god, this is happening right now.
this
Like
is the moment. This is the
I'm being
moment. Yeah,
trusted with this." I
right.
don't I can't remember.
There, I do remember the first time that I realized my mom was smoking cigarettes.
Mm.
And then and then like we kind of had this moment, and like I was a teenager, I was smoking cigarettes too.
Yeah.
And so I just remember like eventually kind of catching her and just coming up and like lighting my own cigarette, and we just kind of like sat there and we're like smoking together for, for the first time. um Probably my mom probably wouldn't like that being on the podcast, but I do I do remember that
Hey,
moment.
you live and you learn.
Yeah. Uh, um, okay, so Brian, wrapping up here, Brian has a great line where he says, I somehow I knew this was coming. I don't know how I knew it was coming, but Brian says, "I think I'll eat your mother too. She never let me do it all those years ago."
Yeah.
And I was like, I was like, Jesus
I
Christ,
know,
like,
dude. I know. That
like
that's
I understand the line, and I don't hate it, but I'm just like, yeah, I'm like, you're putting it right out there, aren't you?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Exactly.
uh,
Airing it all out.
um, so I couldn't quite remember how they defeated Brian. And so I had to look up kind of like a summary,
Mhm.
because it's been a couple weeks since I've done my reread.
Yeah.
And the summary said, at the climax, Cole and his friends confront Brian at the lake. They turn Brian's own supernatural bargain against him by forcing him into contact with the stones and the power attached to them. Brian is then dragged or pulled into the fiery otherworld beyond the tree line, essentially claimed by the same evil force he had made the bargain with.
Mm.
So Brian is removed, but the curse itself is not truly destroyed. The final pages imply that everyone who willingly accepted and kept a sorrow stone, including Cole and many people from town, will eventually be collected and led into that fire as well.
Yeah.
That is why the victory at the lake feels temporary and the ending remains so bleak. I think
Mm.
that's a good summary.
Yep, that is a great summary.
And we do see later. We didn't mention the knife. It didn't really have a ton of implications in the story, but it was like an otherworldly kind of knife that Cole has.
Yep, yep.
Um, and at the very end of the book, Cole goes back to the tree and he sees Brian in the tree, and he's kind of like sitting on the branch, like the same branch that his dad hung himself
Yeah.
from. And he goes to hand Brian the knife to get rid of it, but then like Brian kind of like tears apart, and it's like the demon hand that comes out and like grabs the knife and pulls it back in.
Yeah.
And so even Brian isn't like in control
Oh
anymore. Like
no.
he's
No,
part
no,
of the
no.
entity
Yeah.
now. So that was pretty crazy. Um, we'll talk more about that ending sequence in a second here, but I did really like the final scene with Kelly, because I love that even with him looking like super hot now, like the blue crane made him look great. He still loves Kelly even though
Yep.
she is like burnt from head to toe.
Yeah.
And he loves her very much, and he gives her the blue crane, and he tells her what happened. He's like, I caused all of this, I'm so sorry, like you should hate me. He's like, but I want to give you the blue crane just in case it will help you, just in case it'll solve your issues. And she holds on to it for a second, and she closes her eyes, and it starts to make her scars like go away and everything. And then she looked up and threw it into the lake. And I'm like, that is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Fucking
that. I'm like, oh man. I'm like, that's pretty nuts. She throws it into the lake. Um, and then I love that she turns to him and she's like, "Did you mean it?" And he's like, "What?" And she's like, "When you told me you loved me." And he says, "I've always loved you. It doesn't go away." And
Yeah,
then they have their moment. And that's the closest we get to a
to
happy
a happy
ending.
ending. Exactly.
That is the
Exactly.
closest we get. That's why I said at the beginning, the ending the ending is salvageable. I don't think it's like a positive or good ending though.
Yep. Yep.
It's
It
salvageable,
it's
but
probably good for Cole
yeah,
for a little while, but overarching not good for anybody ever.
yeah. Um, so the final dream sequence. What do you make of this? Everybody standing in line.
I don't, dude. Well, I was reading this note. Why don't you start? See if you can
Sure, jog your
refresh my,
memory.
yeah, jog my memory.
So at the very end, like the final little epilogue of the
Mm-hmm.
book is Cole and his mom are packing up the house and putting things away. And Cole, I think he goes back into his room and he kind of has like this weird dream vision thing where he sees the demon at the chessboard. Because all throughout the book, he's been having dreams about him playing chess against the demon.
Yeah.
And the demon is always like one step ahead. It always knows. The pieces don't make any sense. They do all these weird things that he doesn't understand. Um, and in this final dream sequence, he sees the demon sitting at the chessboard, and Cassie is on the other side, and she's playing chess against the demon. Um, and he's like, "Oh crap, Cassie!" Like, "Oh my god!" And then he looks behind her, and I forget who's right. I think it's Miss Cordero is right behind her, and then he looks behind her, and it's Dansk, and
Mm.
then he sees Simon and Riley and his mom and like all these people from town, and then he sees like he's in line, and he looks behind him and the line is just endless, going on forever and ever and ever. There's like thousands and thousands of people that have had a sorrow stone that are all waiting in line for
Yeah,
their
that have
turn
touched
at the
one.
chessboard. And then the very last sentence is, and then the whole line took a step forward.
Oh,
And
dang.
it's just like, oh, it's just like endlessly going and going and going, just being devoured by this demon on the other side of the chessboard.
That's
And it
fucking
was just,
crazy.
I was like, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, oh my god. It's
There's
like they're,
that's what you're supposed to do with it. That's
yeah. Oh man. And they're,
was
luckily Kelly, it didn't say Kelly was in the line. So she made it out, which is good because she's the one who is like the most innocent in all of
yeah.
this.
Yeah, that's true.
Which
That's
is
true.
good. So that's like a positive thing. But my god, what an ending. It like totally threw me for a loop. Totally threw me for a loop.
Yeah. This was a pretty wild book, dude.
Pretty wild book. I am really, going into final thoughts here. I am really on the fence of whether I like this more than Stolen Tongues or not. But yeah, overall, I really liked it. Like it's really close with Stolen Tongues for me. Like I just enjoyed every single step of the journey, and it's for sure in my top 3 for the year as of right now, unless something comes out and knocks it out of its spot. Right now, this is in my top 3 for the year, I think.
Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still like Stolen Tongues more. I think
That's
Stolen
fair.
Tongues is like my favorite
Yeah.
horror book of all time.
Yeah.
But with that said, though, this is more of the same feeling that Stolen Tongues gave me.
Yes. Yeah. And I
Which,
think that's what I hope for from a
yeah,
Felix Blackwell. Even if it's going to
yes,
be a completely different
of
premise,
course, yeah,
I want that sense of looming looming dread.
Yep.
Even if it doesn't have the same jump scares that Stolen Tongues did, it's it's still got that ever present sense of we are completely and utterly fucked.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Well said. Well said.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time. I was hoping you would,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah. For sure.
So I'm glad you liked it because I know that Church Beneath the Roots, it was kind of a I hate to say mixed bag, but it kind of like I know I really liked it, but I know that Sam was kind of mixed on it. I think you were maybe a little bit mixed on it, and even I didn't like Church Beneath the Roots as much as I like Stolen Tongues, and it was such a departure from either of these books. It was
Yeah.
more of like a it was more not like an adventure book, but it was almost like a mystery thriller
Yeah.
rather than
Yeah.
horror.
Yep.
And so for this book to go back to like very unknown, just straight up horror,
Pure
looming dread.
evil. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was great. It was great to get back to that.
Yeah.
And I hope whatever he writes next is just as good, if not better. Felix Blackwell is a day one. I should have I first of all, I can't believe I didn't know that this came out last November.
Yeah.
I literally emailed before that email chain with Felix. I had emailed him back when I first heard about it like 3 months ago, and I was like, "Wait, did you have a new book come out? Like, what's the Sorrow Stones?" Because it just came up on my Audible main like
Yeah.
feed, and I was like, "Is this new? What is this?" He's like, "No, that came out in November." And I was like, dude, I'm like, I feel so bad for not like reading it immediately.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Felix is like a day one author for me. Like
Yeah.
I'll pick up whatever he does. Because I think at this point he's more than proven
Oh,
proven
absolutely.
himself. You know.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you for hanging out after work
Hmm.
and record. You recorded like 3 videos with me today, so thank you.
Yeah.
Now I can get those edited and we can get some content back on the
Something out
channel.
there.
But
Good.
yeah, it was good to get back into this. This is the first episode that we've done
In a while,
after
dude.
my like teeth
It's been
like
like a
implant
month,
surgery.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I had to heal from that for a bit. And then it took a while to learn how to talk, and I still kind of am learning how to talk with them in, but hopefully it'll just get better and better.
It will. It will.
Somebody told me the other day who they had seen me like a week after I got them, and then they saw me for the first time again yesterday,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Oh yeah, you sound like infinitely better than you did at first." Like,
Yep.
so
Yep.
hopefully it just gets better and better.
It will for sure, dude. It'll, yeah,
Yeah.
it will. You just keep adapting, and then eventually you'll sound how you want to sound, and your
Yeah.
brain will be like, "All right, we made it.
We made it. We did
We're
it.
good to go."
All right, everybody. We are going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and making it through this episode of the Fantasy Files podcast. Go pick up the Sorrow Stones if you have not already. Hopefully you have, because you're here after the spoiler discussion after we explained everything.
This is not the book to ruin yourself on.
Yeah, for real.
Hope you didn't stick around and not read it.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully you're only seeing this because you skipped to the outro.
Yeah, or something.
Yeah. But yeah, so we'll be covering more Felix Blackwell when he comes out with his next thing. I think Ronald Malfi may have just come out with a new book, so maybe we'll cover that soon.
Mhm.
But yeah, we got some stuff coming up. We were just talking earlier. By now, you'll see a video on the channel that has like channel updates, where we're talking about some books that we may be going into. So go give that video a watch. You can also, hear more of the story about me getting my teeth implants if you want to. But other than that, we will be back soon. I think we're back to fairly normally scheduled content, and I believe Sam will be coming back soon to do an episode on House of the Dragon. Are you watching House of the Dragon, Gabe? No.
I'm not.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll probably be covering the I think it's the 3rd season that's out now. I haven't even started it yet, but
I've never even watched any of it.
Oh, dude, that's so crazy. It's so good. It's so good. All right, guys, we are going to wrap it up. We will see you later. Thank you so much for being here. Links are in the description: Twitter, Discord, Patreon, all that good stuff. Like, subscribe, all the YouTube jazz. We will see you later. Bye-bye.